What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Honest Tattooer Podcast. My name is John Mesa, and I'm joined by Matt Triano.
What's up?
What's up?
And we got the homie G Money on the couch. Welcome back, bro.
Whoop, whoop. Let's go.
Welcome back.
Talk some shit.
And our very special guest, Bili Vegas. Welcome to the pod, bro.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
So, for the people that don't know you, let them know where you're from, how long you've been tattooing, and what kind of tattoos do you do?
All right. So I've been tattooing 23 years now.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. And I'm originally from New York, lived here most of my life. I tattoo on Long Island now. I got 2 shops out there. And most people that do recognize my name, they know it from Ink Master Season 1.
Ink Master Season 1 OG.
The OG.
Season 1.
Wow.
You know what's funny? Back when that all started, we were actually working in the same shop.
Yeah.
And we were both like, they're making these tattoo TV shows. And they were trying to scout people. And like I had both people kind of reaching out, and I had no idea which show I was going to do. And I was like, I don't know which one I do. I was like, I guess I'll do this
Did
one.
Best Ink come out the same year that Ink Master did?
I think we filmed at the same time.
They filmed at the same time, but they did not come out exactly at the same time.
Right, okay.
There was like a big stagger.
Yeah.
I originally agreed to do Best Ink.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And then
Why?
I said, wow.
Well, so they approached me first before Ink Master was, even on the radar. And eventually the people from Ink Master were like, hey, would you rather be on the channel that shows UFC fights or on Oxygen? And I'm like, damn, man.
Wow.
All right, I like UFC fights, so I went with Ink Master.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what it came down to.
What was that? Was that Oprah Winfrey's station?
No.
Oxygen?
No. It was Oxygen was just its own thing.
Oxygen.
It was just Oxygen. At that
Sorry.
point, it didn't really that network was completely different than what it is now. Like now, Oxygen really just shows like crime stories nonstop all the time. But at that moment, I felt like they wanted to be like a kind of hip,
Yeah.
women-oriented kind of network in the style of like a combination of, I'm going to say if you took a little bit of TLC and MTV and meshed them together, like...
Isn't that VH1?
No.
That's pretty much what it is.
No.
I think I remember we were talking about it
That
back
is
then.
what VH1 is now, for sure.
Yeah,
You're right.
But at the time when we were talking about it back at Sacred, I was really considering doing Best Ink because of Joe.
Yeah.
Joe was, when they told me, I didn't know who the judges were going to be an Ink Master.
Yeah.
And a selling point. Oh, thank you. A selling point.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A selling point for me was knowing that there was going to be a reputable judge that I, respected.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, Joe's going to be one of the judges. Yeah, all right, I'll do it. And this was the beginning, because the only thing before that was New York Ink and LA Ink.
Yeah.
Right.
Miami Ink. Like that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And they said to me, because I was called for New York Ink originally.
Oh, no shit.
And I didn't want to do it.
Oh, shit.
Funny thing about that,
Were you supposed to be Chris Torres' part?
dude, you hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
So I interviewed, they had called me. It's the same casting agency. And when we did Ink Master, it was about half of us were cast and half of us had auditioned. So the casting agency had called me up and, a few other tattooers had recommended my name. And I went and they're like, all right, so you're from the Bronx. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, so you're Italian? I'm like, yes. And they're like, well, can you be like, hey, get the fuck out of the shop, whatever. And I'm like, no. Like, no, that's not me, right? So I was like, listen, thank you for your time. I just don't think this is me. And I'm walking out the door and I see Chris Torres walking in. I'm like, hey, buddy, congrats. You got the job.
You're gonna get it.
I knew it.
You're going to get this, bro.
I'm like, you are who they want me to be. So, yeah. But then they called me up for Ink Master because they're like, hey, we had your name from this. The sell for me with that was they were like, you just got to go on and do good tattoos. That's it. It's like no stories, no people crying about their tattoo. It's just best, tattoo of the day, like you do at conventions, but on TV. And I'm like, all right, cool.
How far did you make it?
Top 4.
Nice.
I got pretty far. Went home on traditional.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, man.
Additional.
Damn.
Womp, womp.
Womp, womp.
It's it's crazy how much like I wish honestly that I would have done Ink Master like when it was kind of judged differently, you know, because I did enjoy that format of just like this week you're doing this kind of tattoos, and everybody had to do that kind of tattoo. Now it's like more modern where it's like it is about like the concept, and everybody can kind of execute things however they want to execute it, you know? But
which I feel like that kind of fails the whole premise of what the show is.
It's just different. I would say it's just different. At the end of the day, it's however...
Because if you could do any tattoo that you want, but in your style, I wouldn't call you an ink master. You're a style master.
Well,
right?
It's debatable. It's debatable. I mean, we now know what the show wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but season 1 we didn't. So I'm like, oh, they want this, but I'm going to do it how I would do it. You know, thinking that's what I came here to show them, my work. But, you know, you got to learn to play the game.
Yeah.
And, you know, I actually am the opposite. I wish I could do it now.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's more suitable to...
It's more suitable.
You know.
The one thing of doing it now, I think, was it's faster. It's way faster. Like one thing was like, you know, they told me that they used to have sometimes like overnight, so you guys could like go and practice your, you know, like at home and do your like design and whatever. But the only thing is you guys have to live together. We didn't have to live together.
Yeah.
And that adds a whole nother dimension of bullshit of having to live with people. That must be difficult.
I would imagine that seasons like 2 through 5 probably had a lot of drama with living with each other.
Oh, yeah.
We had a lot of drama in season 1 because the production crew was so new to how things worked.
They're all trying to learn as well.
They did not know what to do. So like we had problems where like the roof was caving in with water. Like that was our drama.
shit.
It wasn't us fighting.
Yeah.
You know, and season 1 was funny because half of us were friends. You know, like, and good friends, like Josh Woods, Jeremy Miller, Shane O'Neill. We were all at the same convention a week before we started filming.
Wow.
2 of us shared a hotel room. You know, like we're all buddies.
Yeah.
And we're all, you know, nudging each other on the shoulder going, I can't tell you where I'm going to be next week. Yeah, me neither. You know, so, James Vaughn too.
Oh, yeah,
Another
James
you know?
Vaughn, yeah.
Like, I've known the guy forever. So we all show up and they're like, well, introduce yourselves. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're all friends. They were very disappointed that we all were friends.
Really?
At one point, they're like, you guys can't help each other. This is a contest. And we're like, but, you know, that's his style. He's going to help me, you know, get some reference. And they're like, no. But yeah, it was weird. It was a big learning curve for production as well as us. I did go back sometime in season, I don't know, 5 or 6 and did a Halloween special.
Cool.
And that was really cool. That was with Clint and Clean Rock One and what's his name? Mark. Drawing a blank, but all we did was Halloween tattoos. We did, you know, so zombies and gunshot wounds, and that was. And at that point, I knew how to play the game. You know, I knew what they wanted. They wanted big reactions, whatever, and so I had a blast. Season 1 was stress.
I didn't even know there was a Halloween season.
Yeah, it was called Hallowink.
Halloween.
Halloween.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Who came up with that name?
It was cool. It was a good time. Once again,
One of the dads in production.
yeah.
You know, like
Someone with an Ed Hardy shirt was like, I got it.
oh yeah.
Yeah. But it was cool. We all knew each other, so like we just showed up, did some cool tattoos.
No,
that was easy. That was like 2 days.
Man, I feel like the experience of you know, something like that where you're like, oh, I'm gonna be there for 2 days and do that. Like that sounds like fun. Not being like, I'm gonna be gone for maybe like a month and a half and be under stress this whole time, and that's the part that sucks.
Did they take your phones?
Yes.
Yeah. No internet, no phones. That was rough.
Yes.
They also didn't realize until like day 3, like they need to get on the internet to find reference.
Yeah. So how did you do it?
So what the production team tried to do first, which failed, was they set up a laptop with folders, and one was like lions, bears.
Oh, like
Pre-selected reference.
There was a lot of things where they were scared because of copyright infringement. They didn't know what would happen if they turned us loose on the internet.
I got a story about that. So put a pin in that, but keep going.
Boom. Yeah. So they didn't know what to do. And then we're like, listen, this isn't working. Like season 1 was weird. Like we didn't have the right needles at first. We didn't have the right ink. Like they were figuring it out. And I don't fault them. They don't know our industry, you know, but it was tricky. Yeah.
The total opposite of now. Now they have like on staff team to really help the artists and tattoo artists that are on staff to make sure that everything that you guys are getting are actually good. So that's why.
When I went
And you
back,
can use your iPads, right? Like you can.
yeah, well, not back then there were no iPads.
no.
But I'm saying you can peruse the internet, go on Pinterest. and
Yes,
get
you can
whatever
do all
want.
that.
Oh, man. I got an idea for the next season of Ink Master.
Yeah, when I did like Best Ink, same thing. There was, you could only use Getty images. Those were the ones like they got the licensing, just all the images only from Getty Images.
Okay.
Then again, no iPads or nothing. Everybody had to just fucking draw everything up. Red pencil crew, bro. Like,
Yeah. That's
But,
good. That's the idea.
and
Next Ink Master, all analog. You got to.
Hey, I'm all right. I still hand stencil every tattoo. Yeah, I trace right onto the carbon.
Nice.
Or to be nice, it's like one of those flash challenges. All right, guys, we're taking away all your electronics. For
That
this,
would be kinda sick.
Yeah.
that would be kind of rad.
Anyway.
So going back to the pin that I put in.
Yeah.
If you've been following our Instagram page the last couple of weeks, about a week or two, you might have noticed that the format of our reels have changed. I've been outsourcing the reels to a company in London, I think they are.
Yeah.
And they've been editing our reels and adding B-roll. And when I first talked to this guy, I said, that's cool. Don't use other people's tattoos as our B-roll. Don't use other tattooers in our B-roll. And he's like, yeah, cool, no problem. We'll just grab stock images. We'll AI generate some stuff. No big deal. Cool. The post that we put out on Monday or Tuesday,
Yeah, I saw that one.
dude, fucking Crystal Areto was
I
one of
know,
the,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she called us out. She's like, yeah, they didn't even ask me if they can use this picture. I was like so embarrassed.
Wow.
I was like, what the fuck, dude?
You know what? From it, this is gonna sound wild.
It looks AI.
It looks AI.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
It does look AI. Like I saw it and I was like, is that actually her or is this an AI generated image
I don't
that
know if
saw
they
her
edited
image
it.
and just like print and just went for it? Because it did look AI generated.
The guy admitted it. He was like, "Oh yeah, sorry. I just talked to the dude who made this reel, and he admitted that he just grabbed it off of Google Images."
Jerk.
I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, what a jerk.
So sorry, Crystal.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sounds like
Crystal.
AI is going real swell for everybody. AI is so cool.
The hands all jacked up.
Yeah.
Looked like you tried to put
Always.
a glove on a wet hand.
But to go back to,
I call them the AI hands.
I'm always hesitant about outsourcing other work because I know that I could do things the right way.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And you got to alleviate your plate, allow other people, delegate it out to other people so that you don't have so much pressure on yourself. But then you do, and shit like this happens.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
And if you're listening to all of this and you've been complaining about making content and making reels, like outsource your reels, man. As long as you can give them all the material that you want, maybe they can make some good reels for you.
Yeah.
So I think that too many people get caught up on like, oh, I don't want to do it, or I don't enjoy doing this part of the job. It is part of the job. I'm so sorry to remind you that every fucking
It is
week.
now.
I feel like
it is now. Not when I started.
it's part of the
part
job.
Of it now.
Yeah, and every job changes.
Yeah, you got to adapt.
You got to adapt.
If you remember, a few weeks back, we had Ed from Tattoo Armor on the podcast, and he was able to hook us up with a discount code for our followers. So Tattoo Armor is literally the best way to wrap your client. I've been using it. Matt's been using it, and it's just awesome. There's no mess. There's no glue, and it's just super comfortable. I hope you can try it for yourself, and just go on to Tattoo Armor and use the code Honest Tattooer for 20% off your order.
2 shops, man. How many people do you have working for you?
Got about 12 now. Just actually hired somebody the other day, so we're going to be going up 1. And we have an apprentice right now that when she comes to fruition, we'll be at 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
14 over the 2 shops though, right? Like,
Yeah, between the 2 shops, yeah.
what's the distance between those 2 locations?
So if you know Long Island, runs east and west, but we found that north and south is where people are really like stuck in their towns. They don't like North Shore people don't go to the South Shore.
Oh, wow.
It's like ethnocentrism, but like on a micro scale. They don't like to leave. So we have a North and South Shore shop. They're only about 10 minutes east and west of each other, but they're 30 minutes north and south.
Okay.
So it's about a half hour, 40 minutes tops between the 2.
I didn't even know Long Island was that wide, north and south, that you can get 30 minutes of a
Yeah,
drive.
you get about 30 minutes, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you know what? There's not always a direct, like if on certain roads you can go straight across the island in like 20-25 minutes.
Okay.
But if you got to like hop on the Northern State, then hop on this road and whatever, like it takes you out of the way a little bit. But yeah, they're not too far apart. They're both in kind of like lively towns. Huntington and Bayshore are both like villages. So they have like lots of bars, lots of restaurants, a lot of foot traffic.
Do you bounce back and forth?
Yeah, I do. I am mostly in the Huntington shop at this point, but for a while I was tattooing at both. Now I'm kind of more focused on the Huntington shop, and my partner Joe is at the Bayshore shop.
Cool.
Nice.
No, it's cool, man.
Kind of got your system down already, refined.
Yeah, it works out. I mean, he's from that area. He knows a lot of people in that area, so it works. And Joe and I work very well together as partners. He worked for me for about 10 years, and then kind of like made partner, like bought in and, was like, hey, I've always been thinking about my own shop, but I don't want to leave you. Can we do something? I'm like, hell yeah, let's keep going.
Nice.
Like why lose a good employee and make him a partner instead. And we're very different. And the artists that I have at that shop vibe well with him. The artists that are at my shop vibe well with me. And
Cool.
I feel like it is extremely, extremely hard to find that.
oh my God.
It's extremely hard.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you guys make it work.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. You're two alike, you're two different visions of the shop. Joe, like I said, he worked for me for 10 years. He came to me, maybe 2 years into tattooing, was, still learning, and over 10 years, like learned tremendously, showed me he was a hard worker. I got to know him really well. I got to know his business ethic. And I was like, nah, this is somebody I can work with.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like,
Cool.
I think like, finding like-minded individuals that are like just as motivated, just as focused, and most of all, they want to build with you, and you're like, you want to build with them. You're like, together we can build a bigger castle than if I just try to build my own and you try to build your own. If we
Absolutely.
work together, then we can build a bigger, stronger place.
Well, it goes back to what you were just saying about delegating out some work. You have to, for years, I drove myself nuts trying to do everything. I'm working with the apprentices. I'm doing the content for the shop. I'm doing the website. I'm doing the taxes. I'm paying the bills. Like, yeah, I still got a tattoo too, like how many jobs can I do? And Joe has really helped me a lot with that. Like, you need to focus here because that's what you're good at and that's where I need you. So I'm going to take this crap off your plate and now we're going to both be happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
It's important to have someone that you could trust who could do that just as well as you can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
It's tricky,
us.
but yeah, I'm pretty fortunate now. Like between him and between the artists that I have, half of them are, came up as apprentices through us. But yeah, we have an amazing crew right now and, really couldn't be happier.
How often do you tattoo nowadays?
I'm only tattooing like 2 or 3 days a week. 2 days a week are like set aside specifically for me to work with the apprentices and even with the art. Like when I say apprentices, like just because you have your full license, you're still an apprentice. You're a tatter tot, you know. Right. Like I have 2 women that work for me. They both came up through the shop. They've been tattooing 4 years now. In my head, they're still apprentices because I'm still teaching them. But to everybody else, they're amazing artists, But they're still calling me up like, hey, I've never seen this before, and I'm like, yeah. Do a couple thousand tattoos, you'll not be an apprentice anymore. But there's something about mentoring someone that they're always your apprentice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You've been doing it for 23 years, right?
yeah.
What would be the next person in your shop as far as like experience?
So that would kind of be a tie between Joe, my partner, and Sebastian, who he's an amazing Japanese artist, traditional Japanese, does some neo-traditional as well. He's been there about the same amount of time, 9 or 10 years. And then now that's with me. We do have an artist named Lance. He's been tattooing for, I think, about 17 years, but not with us. He only came on last year.
Okay.
So, it's a mix. We have people that are, just starting out 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, and up to 23 years, and I like it. People that just finished their apprenticeship are helping the new apprentices go, oh, that's not what he's going to want. Like they know what
They know how to play the game too.
Oh yeah, they learned. But no, it's good. Years ago, when I first opened Afterlife, with Timmy B was, part of the shop. We had a great crew of artists. Everyone was booked out. We were all doing conventions together and it was awesome.
That was the Huntington one.
That was the Huntington one, right? And we were hardly ever at the shop because we're all on the road.
Just traveling.
Doing 30 shows
Traveling around.
a year.
Yeah.
And that was a fun time, but it wasn't a business. That's not a successful business. Everybody's taking home most of their money. Shop's not really making anything. Everyone kind of comes and goes as they please. And people walk up to the shop to make an appointment. There's nobody there, or the door's locked because, you're upstairs tattooing. I've definitely evolved like myself to where, it doesn't have to all be the best of the best. Like there's a place in the industry for people at all levels as long as they're doing solid tattoos. Like you're a year in, you could do awesome tattoos to your skill level.
Your skill level.
That's it. You shouldn't be
make people happy.
That's it. What's the problem? There really is a place, and there's a place for people that aren't the best artists, but are amazing tattooers. Like
they're great with people.
Yeah,
They can provide, the service
Right.
to a great ability, like connect with people and people like, I want to come back and get tattooed with that person again.
Yeah, but talk to me 20 years ago, and it was like, if you're not a rock star, get out of my shop.
Yeah.
It was a different mentality. I grew up a little, and but I'm happier for it. So
Yeah. My mind's also changed over the years. Just working with different tattoo artists of different calibers and just realizing it's like, oh man, the most important thing is like, how well can they deliver a good experience to the customer?
client satisfaction and execution.
Yes.
If you're designing your tattoos way too hard for your skill level, you're gonna fail.
You're going to fail.
So don't do that. Don't be 6 months in trying to do color portraits. You don't have the tools yet. You don't, the technical tools. It doesn't matter if you're an amazing artist. You don't know the technical end of tattooing well enough to pull it off. So stick to what you know. And that's what I say to my apprentice now. I'm like, I want you to design something for this tattoo you're going to do to your skill level using the tools that I've taught you thus far and nothing more. And, that's what she does. And if I think it's a little outside that, I'm like, step it back.
Okay. Hell yeah. Man. Hell yeah.
So then how do you know when it's time to step to the next level, and how do you allow her to do that?
Well, it gets a little tricky with the apprentices because I've had apprentices from art school. I've had apprentices that were self-taught artists, but amazing painters. And then I've had people that didn't have much of an art background, but just drew and drew and drew, and that's it. So when I first start with somebody, I kind of give them a test and I see where they're at. I try to gauge where they're at. And, it's like, do you understand light source? Do you understand how to draw based on geometry and shape and structure? Can you do dynamic figure drawings? And then based on where they're at, like I had one apprentice, she crushed it. She knew all of it. Like, I'm like, here's this, render it as if it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, with outdoor lighting, done. And I'm like, all right, we're going to skip a lot. So we're going to go right to technical tattooing. I'm going to teach you how the machine works, how it puts ink into the skin. About trauma, I'm going to talk to you about machine speeds, voltage, needle depth, stroke, whatever. So we went straight technical. It was like teaching somebody to be a plumber. Like, I'm going to teach you how to do the trade. You're going to apply the art that you already know. And I'm just going to kind of control what level of art you bring into a tattoo.
Yeah.
So like that's one method, but then, there's other artists that they need to be taught all of that. So with that, I kind of go back to like the basics because, tattooing in the late 90s and early 2000s, like we did tribal, we did Celtic. And like,
Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic. Learn how to do line work. Learn line work. It's amazing. I literally make them do tribal and Celtic still. But when they do tribal, I'm teaching them how to compose a sleeve, but like what's biomech, but 3D tribal. What's, like the wind and water of a Japanese tattoo. It's all composition, so like they learn how to thumbnail out a full sleeve, then fine tune it. Now they learn composition. I have them do Celtic. I have them do a ton of it, even though nobody gets it. I don't think I've seen Celtic come out of the shop in years.
It's been a while since I've done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go through all the phases. They go through all the old stuff that I used to do. We touch on it. If they can pull it off on practice skin, they can get it on a client and it heals well, we'll move on.
So I think that's a proper apprenticeship. You obviously have an extensive art background.
Yeah,
right?
A bit.
I feel like there's a lot of tattooers that are taking on apprentices for whatever reason, whether they just want money, whatever it is, they want the work, but they don't know enough to actually pass down to the apprentice. So we're getting like this watered down tattoo I don't know, they don't really know what they're doing. And then
Yeah.
those people are then teaching other people, and it's getting to this place where they don't really know what they're doing enough. And at the same time, they're getting insulted that if someone like us who knows what we're doing says, hey, maybe you should try something different, then we're like, oh, all right, boomer.
Yeah. I mean, my first mentor, the person that gave me the opportunity to just, get into tattooing, he had at that point, I would say like a limited amount of knowledge. He was very good at doing one style of tattoo, and he taught me what he knew to as much as he could take me. And then after I realized it, I'm like, okay, well, it's like if you will go to one school and you learn from that school and you're like, all right, I need to go to another school to keep learning. And I knew that was like, all right, I've reached the point where I need to go somewhere else to get more knowledge. And then I went to go work with people that have been tattooing for way longer than that person to then gain more experience through somebody else. But at that point, I'm not gaining knowledge in the form of an apprentice. Now I'm just, low in the totem pole in a tattoo shop, just mouth closed, ears open, just to hear everything that people are saying and just being humble and just trying to gain knowledge from people that are willing to give it to you.
Right.
Because too many times you'll find yourself in a shop where you're the new guy. People are not stoked that you're there because they see you as like, now I gotta fucking share with this guy, and they don't want to share anything with you. But if you come with the right attitude and you're humble and you're fucking nice, you can break those walls down and people will start sharing things with you, and you'll be able to move forward.
Faux show.
Yeah. We're seeing with the right crew, like those barriers that you're talking about like, oh, it's the new guy. Like I'm seeing them like embrace these people pretty quickly and being like, hey, let me show you something, But I think it's because they had that when they came and started with me.
Right.
They were taught like, no, we're going to share, we're going to teach, because as a shop, we only want good work coming out of here. Like if you do a bad tattoo, it reflects on all of us. And I think maybe I beat that mentality into them a bit. And now they're kind of just like a broken record.
That's great.
But it works.
Yeah.
So, whatever. But but going back to your point, the guy taught you to the best of his ability. But did he teach you how to do good line work and pack some color?
Yeah.
So then he did right by you.
Yes, he gave me good
ability.
fundamentals. Good fundamentals, which I think it's where you need to start off.
And you could do a lot with that.
Yeah.
So.
That's all you need.
Honestly, you can make a living
Oh, yeah.
out of just good fundamentals
Yeah.
in tattooing. Make a solid living as long as you're nice.
Well, that's the thing. If I'm teaching somebody that doesn't have that extensive art background, but they can do a solid tattoo that's going to hold up, like, yeah, they may never do, crazy full back pieces, but they're going to make a living. And there is a place, because not all clients want a full back piece.
Right.
Yeah. I would go as far as to say that more people don't.
Most don't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Most don't.
I mean, now it's all patchwork, 1-inch tattoos. That's what's hot.
Now they want smaller tats.
Yeah.
I want a back piece, but can you do it the size of a baseball card?
You remember Zoolander with the tiny phone?
Yes.
That's
Oh, yeah.
tattoos.
That's
now.
tattoos nowadays.
That's true.
Make it smaller. way smaller. Man. I think something I wanted to talk to you about. I think that you were one of the first tattooers that I personally knew that started an aftercare company.
That's right.
You are one of the first ones that I knew that was like, before that, everybody who I remember had an aftercare company was not a tattooer. It was just some kind of outsider that would kind of jump on and kind of like, try to start an aftercare company. What made you, how did that come to be? What turned that on? How did you see that happening?
Well, look, tattooers by trade are not chemists. And, so if outside companies have to make products, I mean, our needle manufacturers, our, ink manufacturers, not all of them are tattooers, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think so too. But by the way, I think that is fine.
it's fine. It's fine enough. But I had an issue healing. A few of my clients had issues with petroleum products. And, after experimenting on myself, healing tattoos, I realized it was petroleum that was just clogging my pores and, making me break out and just slowing the healing process. And I'm like, I got to do something about this.
How did you realize it was the petroleum though?
Process of elimination.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember buying like straight up shea butter and healing a tattoo with it and going like, oh, look, I didn't break out.
Okay.
Like real shea butter, not like shea butter lotion, like the hard
organic shea butter.
Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. And so little by little, I figured it out. And Redemption went through a lot of phases before it got to where I was happy with it. Took about 2 years for me to figure it out, then send it off to an organic chemist and have them, refine it, test it. Once that was squared away, I put it in the hands of a lot of tattooers that I trusted and respected. Got their feedback, made a few tweaks, because what I wanted to do is I came up using that old school yellow A&D, that thick. You walk into a tattoo shop, you smell green soap and yellow A&D.
Yep.
And I wanted that consistency. I wanted it to not slide off your hand. I didn't want it to turn to oil. I wanted it to feel like what I was used to, but just do better by the clients. So we got it all squared away. Artists started liking it. Then we started sending it out to get tested. USDA certified. We got certified over in Germany by TÜV, which they're badass because they have umlauts in their name. We got the European certification and that was a bit excessive. We didn't have to do that. The industry is, slightly under-regulated, but that's changing very quickly. And, we saw a few years back, a lot of reputable manufacturers' products were pulled out of suppliers overseas in like Spain and Germany, just because they didn't go through those daunting processes. And the government said, hey, now we're going to start regulating you. So I wanted to be ahead of the curve. I knew it was going to come, and we're seeing it come in America now. But yeah, it was really just kind of like a little side project that, I really got into, and people liked it. So I just kept running with it.
If I remember correctly, this is what, 2013, 14, somewhere around there?
So I started around 11. And then we launched it the end of 2000, officially launched it, and we're in distributors the end of 2012, early 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too bad. We already had a conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, you just say you don't like my product. That's fine.
No, I'm joking.
No, not like that.
No, but you know what? To touch on that, I was never, maybe it's bad business. You look at how things are now, but I was always like, hey, try this. If you like it, cool. If you don't, whatever. I'm not going to tell another tattooer, this is better. You're going to do better tattoos with it. No, bullshit. If you like it, cool. I appreciate that.
One video that I remember distinctly, but I don't remember who it was. It might have been Travis Brown. He was like, hey, man, this stuff is great. You can eat it. And he just took a scoop of it and just
But
ate
that's
the
the
whole
thing. You can eat it. So I had a client. His dog ate it. His dog ate the whole tub, and he called me freaking out. Do I got to go to the emergency room with my dog? I'm like, put her outside. She's going to crap. There's oil in it. It's a laxative, but totally safe.
Yeah.
Safe for pets because I have pets. So I was like, let me make sure that, all this, everything that's in there is there for a reason. That's how I formulated it. I'm like, why am I going to put filler in it? Let's put this in to reduce the redness. Let's put this in to, make a good glide, whatever. It's pretty simple. I mean, honestly, just keep it simple. But yeah, it's edible. A lot of people were doing that. They're like, oh, you could eat it. I got people, they're emailing us. They're like, oh, I take my makeup off with it, or I use it on my razor burn. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Multiple
They're like, can you start selling it in Walmart? And I'm like, nah, it's not really,
I used it one time. I cut my dog's nails too short and he started bleeding. I just put a glob on there. I was like, it's good.
It's good, bro.
But no, I mean, I'm proud of it. I absolutely am. God, if we ever run out of the shop, all the artists are like, dude, we're out. What are we going to do? And I'm like, you'll survive.
You'll be
just,
fine, bro.
Just go get some A&D. Your clients will live. But no, they get so used to the consistency of it. It's funny. They're spoiled.
A&D?
A&D?
Yeah.
What?
How dare you?
Yeah.
It's you'd be lucky you don't have Vaseline,
Just I used to use Vaseline.
Yeah. I
The
used to Vaseline
pores.
too.
The pores are using A&D.
And where are you with Afterlife now? Do you are you still involved? Do you still handle that business? What?
Yeah. So what ended up happening was we teamed up with Stencil Stuff.
Okay.
Pretty much did a distribution deal. So they handle all of our distributions to tattoo shops and other tattoo distributors. We have a partner over in Germany with a warehouse there, just so that we have different certifications and different labels over there because they have different regulations. So for the artist to be able to get it over there and us not have to like try to mail it, you know, we have a warehouse over there. But no, Mario from Stencil Stuff, you know, another tattooer owned business. You know, he was really awesome when we were first getting started, and kind of like watching from the shadows, like, oh, let's see what these guys are doing. Cause it's just like Billy and Timmy and this other guy, Maddie, like, what are they? And, you know, we got in a lot of distributors right away. And he was like, hey, listen, like, let's work something out. We were actually approached by a few other big distributors that wanted to either rebrand it or private label it at one point, but we didn't really want to give up complete control. You know, like I was very set on like maintaining the integrity of the product and not, you know, not doing a private label type thing where you can just go online and be like, make me a lotion. I'm going to put an anchor on it, whatever, you know. Oh, I didn't mean anchor. That was not targeted at anyone. that was just not at all. Those are some of my best friends, but no, that was just, you know, like just let's put a tat on it. But no, I didn't want to do. I wanted to maintain the integrity, and you know, Mario allowed me to do that. So you know, myself, Timmy, Maddie, Mario, like we're all very involved with that still.
Did you watch the movie Blackberry?
No.
We talked about it briefly for a couple of weeks ago, but BlackBerry, remember the phone, the BlackBerry?
Right, yeah.
So there's a guy in developing that phone that he wanted to maintain the integrity. He wanted to make sure that everything was built to work the right way, and he didn't want it outsourced to China and have like cheap parts. And eventually it got too big, too many hands in the pot, and he eventually had to let it go and have other people make products for him. And as soon as that happened, it just turned to shit. And
It started going downhill right there.
I mean, you know, hindsight, could I have made more money had I done something like that? Perhaps, but I'm happy with the product, and you know, it was never really intended to be like my bread and butter, you know, my money making thing, you know, like I'm a tattooer, I'm still tattooing, you know, so like it was just kind of, I wanted to, there was a lot of talk back then too about like, you know, non-industry owned and, you know, that sort of thing. And I'm, you know, like we were talking about forums earlier, like people are like, don't buy from this guy, he's not a tattooer. And it's like, well, listen, man, like give an alternative then. Make something. You're a tattooer. Go make something. Do it. Like we can, look, here, I'm proof. I made a product. There you go. You know, that's it. It's not the end of the world. Just do it. And you know, either do it or stop complaining.
And like, if the product works and it's good, who cares who fucking made it? If it saves you time and it does the job, who cares, dude?
Absolutely. The only reason why like I had to make it was because a lot of the companies that were already players didn't want to make a more expensive product. Like it costs a lot to make Redemption. You know, the ingredients are all organic, and like that fetches a pretty penny. So like, we're making less on each sale, but I like the product. You know, like it is what it is.
How is it going now with sales?
Sales are great. Sales have been great for years. You know, Mario got us into so many countries, you know, and it's a very steady business, especially overseas in Europe. A lot of people like it because certain countries and, you know, I guess municipalities, they don't allow petroleum to be used. So there aren't many, many options.
Europe is way stricter with their standards with Aftercare, inks, a lot of stuff. They've really tightened.
And that's what I was talking about. We saw that coming. So we're like, you know what, so
that makes perfect sense.
It's been steady. I can't really complain.
Nice.
So clients love it.
That's rad. Fucking, where do you see, I mean, you have a shop, you've already started tattoo products. Where do you see the future for yourself?
Well, ideally, and what we've been talking about, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here, but the shops, like a traditional the tattoo shop as we used to know it is dying out. There's so many people that are either opting to go into a private studio, or they're just, you know, doing booth rent, and they kind of come and go as they please, and that's fine if that works for you. But I really appreciate like the shop family, quote unquote, you know, like that mentality that we're all going to bring each other up. So I'm trying to keep that alive. There you go. Yeah, I'm pandering at this point. But I'm like, it's rewarding. It really is. Everyone's growing. you know, and you get the people that argue about like, don't take apprentices, don't gatekeep, do this. Like, there's so many conflicting opinions. It's just like, I'm going to do what I do. I'm only apprenticing people that I want to stay with us forever, you know, or as long as I can keep them until they want to open a shop.
Like a father building a family.
Right. But when they want to open a shop,
Yeah.
I'll do it with them. If they've been responsible, they've been holding it down, doing good work, doing right by their clients, why not expand?
Exactly.
You know, I have an artist that's like, you know, I could see myself down the road moving south. And I'm like, all right, let's do a south shop. Let's, you know, I'm already talking about Florida. I got family down there. I wouldn't mind doing a few more shops. I don't want it to be I don't want it to be a cookie cutter franchise sort of thing at all. It's something that I want to be intimately involved with all of them, but kind of give the artists a chance to rotate between the shops, work with more artists very easily, and learn from each other. Because guest spots, I mean, that's where I learned more. Guest spots and conventions, I learned more about tattooing. You know, that or getting tattooed by people I admired. So like that's what I want them to have the ability to do, and yeah, we're just gonna kind of roll with it.
That's crazy what you mentioned about conventions, because I'm thinking about the future too. And I'm like, are conventions going to be relevant with how social media is going?
I mean, you could say now that it's gone down.
Because people just don't
lot.
get that mentality of like, I'm going to pay booth rent just to maybe tattoo, but also socialize and network. I'm networking that right now. Like,
right. I think COVID was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, John and I, and you too, like we've all been at conventions together, like for years, like how many times did we end up at Scarlett's together in Hollywood, Florida? You know what I mean? Like we did that.
That's a nice stop.
Yeah, it is. But it was like, that was the circuit. Like that was our life for many, many years. Like when
people are doing the 20 conventions a year, dude, you're seeing your home. You're spending more time with these people that live in other places, and you all congregate in different cities every other weekend than anywhere else.
Yeah. And it was great. Like the friendships were amazing. The learning, just like learning and vibing off each other, seeing new products, like everything was amazing. And that started to slowly just kind of burn out. I don't know if it was us burning out. I don't know if it was a different generation not embracing it the way that we did, because that was before our time too.
Yeah.
But it was a different scene then. And
social media, man.
Yeah. It's wild.
I gotta say, it's, Gabe kind of put it on there. Social media kind of killed
it.
The environment. There's very little mystique, to a tattoo convention. Anything that, just kind of how like the Instagram killed magazines. It's like, why would I wait to see this tattooer's work on a magazine that comes out once a month or even once every 3 to 4 months, when I can just go to their page right now and see what they did today? Like, it just didn't make sense anymore. So in industry sense, people now make videos showing their whole process of what they're tattooing, how they're tattooing it. Like the dudes that put like the little shit on the corner.
Oh yeah,
like
3-round liner.
Yeah, that little watermark that shows like, I'm running my voltage at this much with this liner and I'm doing all of this. Like back in the day, you had to go to a convention to watch that dude tattoo, be nice and be like, hey man, what kind of needle are you using over there and shit like that, to even know.
Why do I like that so much? Why do I like that so much?
Because you're a gatekeeper, Gabe.
Yeah. Why do I love that? Oh my goodness. It was so worth it when there was a breakthrough. Now it's like, yes, I knew I would get that info quick.
Before Instagram on MySpace, I remember, making friends with a bunch of tattooers that were doing similar work to me. And so Roman, remember Roman?
Yeah.
Roman Abreu and Nico Hurtado and Mike DeVries. And like we all had each other in our like top 8 or whatever, plus Tom. And Tom. But I remember rolling up to Tattoo-La-Palooza in Fort Lauderdale, I believe.
That's
Or
Miami.
Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing there talking to somebody, and some dude just comes up behind me and bear hugs me, and I think I'm getting like attacked. And it was Roman. It was Roman.
If somebody bears hug you in a convention from the back, it's probably Roman.
But that was the first time I ever met him, because all I knew about him was his tattoos from MySpace.
Yeah.
Like I only knew what Roman looked like because he's a very specific looking guy. He's got a mohawk and he's got biomech on his head.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's Roman. But like half the other guys, like we had to introduce each other because we didn't have our personal pictures on our
People
MySpace.
didn't know what we looked like,
They're just like, oh, you're the guy that did that portrait of this famous, horror movie.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. And like meeting those people and, then drinking later and sharing stories and talking like, oh, I'm trying this new machine. It's called a Numa. It doesn't really work, but whatever. Like, but we were there for it. We were there for it. We were part of it. And, we built each other up and it was really cool. That's not really a thing. So if I can keep a little bit of it alive in my shop, cool. And I'm sure you guys are doing more guest spots than conventions.
Nah,
I don't go anywhere.
I don't go anywhere. I think that like the next step of that is sort of what this podcast is slowly creating, which is a community of people that do want to interact, do want to share, and are willing to do it through the internet,
Right.
and are willing to have discussions about sometimes not subjects that we all agree upon or fucking shit that sounds good or shit that makes you feel good when you talk about it, but it's real. And sometimes we say things that really fucking trigger people on the internet. We're fucking excellent at that. But I think that those conversations need to be had, man. And sometimes we say things that somebody doesn't, like last time, or last week or this week, actually, one of the reels was like I'm saying like, you're drawing too much flash. I'm not saying that you shouldn't draw flash.
The amount of people that got triggered on that is ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right? But it's like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't draw flash. Of course you should draw flash, but that shouldn't be the only thing you do.
That shouldn't
Right.
be your stopping point.
That shouldn't be where it ends, like having a shit ton of flash that just sits in just a book in a table in your shop, it's not doing you much good, and I think like sometimes people get stuck on little things because they're clips, we put out a lot of clips and a lot of little short things, and they miss that this is part of a long conversation and sharing a lot, and it's too much to condense into 30 seconds that are gonna get your attention on Instagram. And of course, we're gonna get your shit. We're gonna get the shit that's gonna make you be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
That's the point. That's kind of
listen to
the
the whole
point.
thing.
Yeah, go listen to the whole thing. There's a lot more here, and I think we all love tattooing. I think everybody on this podcast loves tattooing, cares for it, wants to see it do better. I think that anybody who you apprentice, you hope and pray that they will take tattooing further than you have.
Absolutely. They should.
And I think that that's something that makes you feel good at the end of the day of like, just how, if you ever have children, you want them to do better than you do, And I think when as an apprentice, same thing goes. You want them to take it further than you did. And in the words of Stoney Sinclair, you want somebody to say like, oh man, look at that. He took that and he didn't butcher it. That's literally it. You want somebody that's going to be like, fuck man, they took it. They took some love to it. And they took care of it and they did better for it. And I think too many times people get caught in the mix of our conversations because they're a little bit wild and they're all over the place. But I think that's real.
I just don't think people are listening really, because they hear like it's so obvious that a lot of people that tune into the Honest Tattooer, like I feel like people get triggered so easily, especially nowadays. They hear just like a combo of words without hearing the full context.
They hear
of the
what
show.
they want to hear.
Yeah, and it's just like this is me they're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's just like, listen, like at the end of the day, even with like a conversation that we're having right now, people are going to get butthurt. And it's like, oh, that's tattoo shop propaganda. It's shop owners wanting to have apprentice slaves for life, and they're just greedy shop owners. They just, people don't actually know like what it takes to run a shop. And it's a team, it's a team. People take that for granted. And just a lot of people that are the straight from like learning tattoo on the internet to opening up their private studios, they wouldn't understand any of that, which is why a lot of them would get defensive. But
Well, trigger alert. If you're going right from apprenticing to opening a private studio, you're going to plateau very quickly.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, be triggered. Work with people, get tattooed by people.
100%.
That's just talk to other tattooers. Like that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Just surround yourself with it if you're truly passionate about
Get
it.
tattooed.
Oh my
tattooed.
God. When Nico did my arm, like that was even when Bob did my hand, like, you know, it's black and gray and I'm a color guy. Well, now I'm kind of a black and gray guy, but yeah, just the stuff that like you don't even think to ask. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to try that. Like that, it's amazing. Even certain things, like we both stencil the same way. So he's like, hey, make your own stencil for your tattoo and I'll tattoo off of it. Cause we were just, you know, drinking and being silly. And, he's like, oh, thank God you stencil like me. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's reaffirming, you know, like, all right, I'm doing something right, you know? But it's just those experiences. They just pile up and make you a better tattooer.
I would agree. All those little like struggles, you know, all that digging,
Yeah.
you know, it makes you feel like you earned a lot of the stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was a big thing for me was I just wanted the respect of my peers.
Yeah.
You know, like the people that I admired, for them to recognize me, that meant everything. I mean, there was a big time when, like, a long gap where, you know, I mean, we met, what, 15 years ago, something like that. Yeah. And that was right before I was planning to open the shop. But up until that point, you know, I'm traveling, I'm doing the circuit, whatever. And I'm like, in my head, I'm saying, if I get good enough, someone really good is going to give me a chance and give me a job. And I'm going to learn everything. And that was my goal from day one of tattooing. Like, let me get myself good enough, because I didn't really have an apprenticeship. My mentor, I paid him. I learned how to body pierce because that was the rule. You want to apprentice, you got to body pierce. And he died. So the shop closed down. So there's my story. You know, a couple weeks in, he gave me a box of parts, said, "When you could start tattooing when the machine works." You know, old school guy.
Oh,
exactly
man.
what I was
Yeah, right?
Awesome.
And hey, I learned how to build a machine. I learned how to solder needles, you know, which, by the way, useless skill now, but makes me recognize good needles.
Yeah.
Because I know how to do it, you know? So, I mean, you know, it's all part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he passed and the shop closed, and me and the other apprentice had to like try to find a job with no portfolio. And we found a terrible shop that was willing to take us, but you know, we pushed each other.
Cool.
But
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. But it's like my whole thing, like half my career was, if I get good enough, I'm going to get that chance to work with someone that could really teach me. And then I remember sitting outside of a convention after a few drinks, and a couple other tattooers that I respected, they were like, dude, it's too late for that. Like, you got to open a shop and help other people now. Like, who are you gonna go work for at this point? Like, we're all friends already. Like, what are you gonna do? I remember it was Timmy, Paul Acker, a couple other guys were sitting there, and they're like, dude, let's just open a shop. Like, there's nobody to go work for at this point. So that's what happened.
Cool.
Did Paul, was he in on that?
So yeah, in a drunken conversation,
though, right?
in a drunken conversation, we had all thought about, me, Timmy, and Paul thought about doing it together, but the timing just wasn't right.
Okay.
All right.
Enough said. Well, so my apprenticeship was similar. I came to the guy who finally gave me the formal apprenticeship. I already had 2 machines that I bought off of eBay. And before I met him, I was fucking around some of my friends in my house. And I came to him with a portfolio, and he was like, all right, yeah, I'll teach you how to tattoo. So a couple of days in, he's like, wait, you have some machines, right? I'm like, yeah. Bring them in. I'm okay, no problem. I brought them in, didn't think anything of it. He was like, oh yeah, these are really, really nice. Cool. Meanwhile, they're garbage. They're like $10 machines, right? Go home. The next day I come back. He's like, oh, I got something for you. And he gives me 2 Dixie cups full of parts, nuts and bolts. He goes, here's your machine. I'm like, what? I was like, what the fuck? He was like, yeah, you're not allowed to use these machines until you figure out how to put them back together. Here you go. And I was like, oh man.
Maybe not the best teaching method, but it is effective. It is effective.
But how sick of a story is that?
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
I got him running.
Yeah,
I got him running.
You know how to tune a machine now. Because I mean, that was probably every day for you for the next 10 years was just tuning machines, go to work, make sure it runs.
I learned from the Huck Spalding book and from the machine gun books.
Tattooing A to Z.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I still show that to my apprentices.
Do you?
Yeah, that and reinventing the tattoo.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you have the those machine gun books, those icons?
Oh yeah.
You do? All of them? I feel like you would be a collector of all of them.
I think they were like 1 through 8 or something.
Yeah, there wasn't that many.
I think I got them all.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh, I I love like the whole aspect of.
Yeah.
I was
Do
collecting.
you guys remember Danny Fowler time machines?
Yes.
Oh
That
yeah.
if you
Yeah.
ever adjusted anything, you couldn't get it back in place.
You're like, don't touch it.
Like next gens, don't ever adjust that rear screw.
Yeah.
Those were the first 2 machines I bought after this guy disassembled the ones that I had because they were the only lefty machines.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh snap.
I ran my micro dial and my telephone dial for like good 10 years solid, like everyday work. That was my workhorse. They were amazing.
And that micro dial, you had to juice up to like 12, 13 volts, right?
A little bit, yeah. I changed the capacitor on it. I think I put like a 47 on it, so it really sang.
They liked a lot of juice.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And later on, I got into these machines. This was right before I went to Rotaries. But this builder down in Texas, John Clark.
Ooh,
You know him?
crazy machines.
Crazy machines,
Yeah.
crazy guy.
Yep.
The guy, I believe he was like a aircraft engineer originally. Dude was brilliant. He was making those single coils,
Yep.
the forward facing, reverse steam powered machines, like all sorts of wild stuff. Some unpractical, but they were amazing.
All collector's pieces though. They were really
Yeah.
cool.
Beautiful machines.
Yeah, beautiful.
But yeah, I was using his for a while. But that was like right before I really had to start making the changeover because it just wasn't efficient anymore. Trying to show up for a convention and my machine, my armature bar moved and now I'm sitting there for an hour while my client's waiting, trying to put a new spring on, adjust the bar, file the like just too much.
What was the first rotary you got?
So the first rotary was Cheyenne. Was a Hawk Spirit.
Yep.
I used that for a little bit. I ended up getting sponsored by them. They came out with the Thunder, and I hated it.
I'm glad you said that because my first machine that I got was Neotat, the original just like boxy one, right?
Yeah.
And I love that thing. And then I forgot what convention I was at, but I was hanging out with Halo and he was like, oh man, you got to try out this Thunder. I'm like, all right, cool. So he let me borrow it for a tattoo and I hated that thing so much. I was like, this is what Cheyenne's all about?
Yeah.
When I first tried the Thunder, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about that machine? That thinking about it now, I feel like it feels very close to what my 5.0 Soul Nova feels
All right.
like.
So you ready?
Like it has like a really strong kind of punchy kind of feeling that
See, I didn't feel that way
Is
at all.
it too much? Where you guys
it
basically
was very punchy.
It's too strong.
It's too big of a cam, too long of a stroke.
Yeah.
And I will fight anyone to the death if you think you need more than a 3.5 millimeter stroke.
Sounds
Seriously, I am so opinionated on this.
You know what's crazy, Billy? I was just gonna say, I was like, that sounds like my type of machine.
I know, dude.
Long strokes unnecessary, in my opinion.
Oh man,
I think it depends on what.
I'm a tip guy.
On
though.
what?
Just
You know what I mean? Just the tip.
All right.
Today I was tattooing and I was doing a Japanese sleeve and I switched between my 3.5 and 5.0 because once I got to all this like really kind of rubbery kind of skin in the back of the arm, I was like, I could either waste more energy trying to stretch this guy or I could just switch to my harder hitting machine
to
and
the
do
Nova.
the same thing, and then that's really all that it was. It's like, I could stretch
Line work?
harder or I could get a harder
Was it line
hitting
work?
machine. And no, it was just like,
See, I can kind of rationalize it for line work,
yeah,
but for shading, so like the longer the stroke, the higher the velocity of the needle hitting the skin.
Yes.
And you're
Yeah.
just going to cause more trauma. And I don't know,
I was also
for me
using
at
a
least-
23 mag. Which,
okay. So that's bouncing off half the
so
time.
it's bouncing off. So I was using a 23 mag and I wanted it to just saturate.
That
So-
little tidbit. You
Yes,
could have brought to
that
my-
needed to add that. That's why I was like, wait. I was like, I was
Guys using a 5
big
mag with a 6 millimeter stroke.
Yeah, I was
going
using a
through
big
bone.
mag, which creates so much force in an area that already creates a lot of force. So I was
Okay.
like, oh shit, I could just switch to a smaller needle. But I'm like, no, I still want to move fast with this big needle. So I'm going to just use something that has more punch to just pack it in there.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like going with a smaller mag, you can work faster though.
Oh yeah.
Right?
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, and I got it from two people. One was Guy Aitchison and one was Bob Tyrrell. And they both told me, because they would look through my portfolio at like Paradise and I'd be like, what should I do? What should I do? And they're like, use a 5 mag. I'm like, what? They're like, use a 5 mag. I'm like, for what? And they're like, everything. I shit you not. It made me so efficient because everything I did was deliberate. Because when you use a small needle,
It's
like that,
there. It's in.
It's in.
It's right away.
instantly.
Yeah.
So everything I did, I had to think through and go, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
And now I say it all the time to my artists. I'm like, tattoo deliberately. Know what you're doing. Don't just go in there and start playing
Yeah, like,
around.
oh, I'm gonna test
Boom.
this right here, and
I'm like, when you're making your stencil, you figure out what you want to do, and then you execute it. That's it.
That's why I'm
Deliberate.
an advocate for doing color studies on your iPad first.
Yeah.
Make sure you know exactly what you want. That way you don't have to be wishy-washy while you're
Yep.
actually tattooing.
But that was one of the best pieces of advice. Small mag. I mean, and now I'm using big. I go
5 mag. That's crazy though.
I use like the biggest I use is maybe like 13s and 15s now, but it made me so much more efficient, so much faster.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anybody. Just be careful because you will rip people apart at first.
yeah, you know, it's so crazy how like different hands and everything, because all that makes sense to me. Like, how much needle depth do you actually need to saturate inside the skin, right? Not
Not much.
Not
at all.
much. Yeah, not much.
But you know, it's just like coming up and tattooing. Like, even with my coil machines, my Dan Cubans, it doesn't matter if it was a rotary or anything. I always preferred like huge strokes, but it was because I noticed with my hand technique that the way that I rotate or do my rotations, it's almost like counter of the force.
Okay.
So it
Yeah.
almost like the way I move my hands helps ease
Right.
that enormous velocity and force, but also like I'm also working a lot off the tip.
Yeah.
Because I really like to like pull, you know how like some people like to pull their inks in a certain area,
Yep.
and I'm just working the tip. So, you know, not for everybody, because exactly how Billy just mentioned,
Tear that shit
you
up.
can tear that, you can hamburger it up.
Oh yeah. You must like those Ralph Nonwheeler videos, right? It's like ASMR
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
But no, it's
Nailed it.
It's tricky. But the thing was with rotaries, it's not a coil.
Right.
You know, and like coils
Very true.
don't have the same velocity throughout the whole stroke. It changes.
Yeah,
You
true.
know, it's going to come down. It's going to punch through the skin fast. But on that top half, it's going to slow down when it hits the spring.
Because it's using momentum.
Right. And that's actually perfect. That's what we need. We need the needle above the skin more than in the skin. And no one's figured out how to do that with a rotary yet.
That's
the
hard,
strokes are
yeah.
consistent. And
crazy.
it's a trade-off because the machines are consistent, but you're never going to line as good as you would with a coil. You know, it's
so
just
crazy.
it's
How-
different, you know.
It's literally what like rotaries have been trying to achieve since the beginning.
Yeah. The like artificial give.
Yeah, the give. It's always been this give set.
That's
We
just
got to
mush.
give you.
That's not give.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
It's I had a give machine someone gave to me and I just tightened it down all the way. Just
You're like,
you know,
You're
get
like,
rid of it.
I
I had,
don't
the,
want
I had the injectors for
Yes,
a while
yes.
with those like spring bars and
Yeah.
that was close.
Those were close.
That was nice.
I
Which-
used
which
those
is-
for a while actually,
which
and
is
they
why
were
a lot
really
of
good.
people, yeah, which is why a lot of people still either like they're like relics now. They'll like hold on
Yeah.
to it. They're like, oh, these were the good ones right here, the injectors.
Yeah. But then Nico gave me a Magi when it was a prototype. He was testing it out and I was guest spotting at his shop.
Is that's by
It's the Bishop.
Yeah, the Bishop.
Right. So they don't make it anymore. It's similar to the Microangelo. You know, it's a rear mounted motor perpendicular to the stroke.
Okay.
And the only difference between the two really is that the Microangelo has like a nipple with a needle bar,
Yep.
and the Magi was like a fixed bar into the cam. But when I was trying it out, when it was the prototype, I still have the prototype.
It was like the Magi was almost like a small.
Real flat,
Like-
right? The real
Yeah.
flat one.
Yeah. Man, I'm still using that machine today.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when I used it, it had no give bar because he's like, you could put your injector little springy bars in.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but I'm not. And I did one tattoo with that machine and I was like, I'm never touching this injector again. I'm like, call Franco. I need a prototype to take home with me. Like I need this machine.
You're like,
I'm
this is the
best
hit
I've gotten
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah,
And
this
you
is
know
the
what
hit
it
I
is?
want.
Their motors are very long compared to the injector.
Okay.
So they can create the same amount of torque at a lower velocity. Whereas the injectors, the motors were very small and they were light, nice machines.
So you need to crank them.
But you had to crank them, otherwise they'd stop. So that to me was the closest I felt to being, you know, like, all right, I can align with this, I can shade with this, I can do black and gray, I can do solid color.
Cool.
So
Bishop
Nice,
makes good
nice.
machines, man. I have
Yeah.
a couple of
Oh,
their machines.
time and
I
time
really,
again.
Really liked them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time and time again, a lot of people
Man, I used to love the
so consistent.
what's it called? The one that had the slider, kind of like the more standard looking Bishop. I used to love that thing just for like
I think it was just called the V4.
the V4. I
Yeah.
think you're right.
yeah.
Oh right,
Yeah.
the slide Bishop.
Yeah, the slide
Bishop.
Yeah. Yep.
that thing was like, that thing was selling out.
You
like
had the slides
hotcakes.
on those original, those boxy ones.
The Neotats. Yeah.
Was that yours?
Yeah.
The
So, do
Neotats.
you remember the Neotat guy? He used to wear like a doctor's outfit with
Yes.
like the like biohazard symbol or whatever.
Yeah.
And he looked like what's his name from Back to the Future with the white lab coat.
What's his name?
With the he had like the gray hair. He was
Yeah.
at all the conventions. I'm like, what is this guy doing? But hey, he made decent machines. My partner's got like a box of like 20 of them, like every color.
Do they still make those?
I don't think
I don't
so.
know. I remember being on his website, and just the vibe from the website made me think that he was making these machines in like a trailer park.
No.
I mean, maybe. You know,
Maybe, dude.
I used to get ink from a guy that was like, you'd call him, leave a message on his answering machine, and then like ink would show up at your house. He'd like make it for you.
What?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Unique, right? Wasn't that unique?
Unique. And then what was it? Phil, it was Phil, right?
Phil Holt, good.
No. I think he was down in Texas. And then there was, I think, PermaPro, before PermaPro.
Oh, wait a second.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago,
As soon
man.
as you said Texas, I was like, oh man, I was getting my inks there too.
That ink is like what Old Gold is doing now.
Yes.
It's
yes.
like,
and if you still
handcrafted,
have that,
small batch, dude, and we have lasers in my shop. You can't laser that ink out.
Dude.
That ink is so concentrated because it's all like real powder pigment.
Yeah.
You know, like
Super
back in
dense.
the day, yeah, we used to have
my
to like
goodness.
make our own browns because the
What was
predispersed
the name?
browns were garbage. They would like separate in the caps like terribly. So we'd order National Brown. But this dude was doing it with like every color and it was so good.
yeah.
It's wild how much that stuff's changed.
I mean, you know, I'm trying to remember, because I remember the guy who taught me, he had the pink list of the few colors that you had to call him up.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that was though.
Yeah, but that was like
man.
secret.
Yeah.
You know, that was like very inside info.
Very trade secrets.
Yeah.
I feel like the tattoo industry
Dude.
was full of trade secrets.
Dude, yeah, tattooing to me felt like I'm in Indiana Jones and tattooing. Like, who's got the red? You know
Yeah,
what
you
I
know
mean?
what?
Like, who's like,
I'm going to call him out right now. Scott. So Scott Force, I've been talking to him a lot. He's an old timer. And every time that we do a podcast, he's like, oh man, I remember those days. And then he shows me pictures of like back in like the 80s when he was tattooing. I bet Scott knows. Scott, if you know what we're talking about, let me know.
Yeah. I would be interested too. But that brings us to the gatekeeping, you know, like these secrets and,
Yeah.
you know, do you share them? Do you not share them? It's a touchy subject.
Billy, what blue is that? Oh, it's a blue.
I'll tell you what blue it is. It doesn't mean you're going to know how to put it in.
Right.
You know,
Man,
but
speaking of blue,
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe the Westchester convention. We had a booth next to each other. You were doing a Venom tattoo. Do you remember this?
yeah.
And I was like, man, what blue is that? And you were like, no, that's black.
That's black.
What black was that?
That was pelican mixed with
Pelican.
white.
Ooh.
And it was blue. And I was
Yeah.
like, what
Yeah.
the hell, man?
because of the different tones of black.
Yeah.
Like, there's
I see people putting videos out all the time and they're like, this black is darker than this black. And I'm like, forget how dark it is. How dark it is matters how you put it in.
What color is it?
What color is it? What's it going to heal out to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all see our grandpa somewhere where they got a green blob or a blue blob. Well, was it pelican or was it talon? But you can use that to your advantage. You know, you're doing a warm portrait, throw a cool background in. Use your even if it's just the nuance of your black, that little difference of tone. Like makes it more interesting, gives it more contrast.
By any chance, do you have a fresh and healed photo of that?
I do.
All right.
I might.
Send it,
yeah.
You don't have to show me now, but send it to me.
Yeah,
I wanna put it up
absolutely.
on screen.
I have that dude. So I don't know if you remember that guy, but he's like damn near 7 feet tall, and I
Yeah.
think he's a big dude, really good client. And we did his whole leg with Marvel characters, but he didn't want anything from a movie. Like he didn't want Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He wanted me to make a Wolverine based on the comics, but kind of realistic. It was, a lot of extra legwork for me.
Easy work.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But listen,
Yeah,
I was
right.
happy to do it for him because he's a great client. I think we squeezed like 13 big color portraits on this dude's leg because he's so tall.
Wow.
But I have videos. I'll send you a bunch of them.
Yeah, I want to see those.
Cool.
I remember being super impressed with that piece. Like, oh, that's blue. That's black. What?
Yeah, it's fun to play with the colors like that, you know?
Well, shit, guys, let's wrap
Awesome.
this up. Anybody
all right.
got a good recommendation for the gang?
I'll go real quick just because I have the thought fresh in my mind. And I'm going to talk about just staying active, right? So as tattooers, like I'm getting older, obviously. And dude, I feel like my freaking body is falling apart little by little. And the thing is, I used to hear older tattooers complain about those things. And you know, when you're younger, you're just like, you literally feel
Whatever.
yeah, be like, ah. Like you could tattoo all day, go get hammered with your buddies all night, wake up hangover, crush it the next day,
and do it again
more
that
tattoo
night.
and do it again. Dude, non-existent. Yeah. So for me now, I'm starting to realize that a lot of like, I'm getting these problems just literally waking up out of bed. All I'm going to say to that is start eating right. Go to the gym. I mean, drag your butt out there, or you don't even have to go to the gym. Just stay active.
Yeah.
There's so many exercises that you can do, but we need to take care of our bodies because eventually all the stuff we do, whether we're using coils, rotaries, we're in awkward positions daily.
Yep.
Trying to get the right angles, trying to tattoo all these different body parts. So that's just my advice, is just to kind of like stay fit a little bit because like our bodies can't maintain what we're doing.
Derb teaches a course on that.
Oh, I remember seeing, yeah.
You know, talking about stretching and
dude,
you know,
he's
posture.
fit. Yep.
Hell yeah,
Derb is crazy fit.
Yeah, but it's very true. Like I stopped using a foot pedal. I stopped using a foot switch because it was giving me sciatic issues because I always was shifted on my hip.
Yeah,
and it's
reaching for that one.
Yeah. So like you said before, okay, boomer, like, yeah, my wrist hurts. Yeah, it's going to.
It's going
to.
to.
It's coming. Yeah. So
the guy that I was looking for that I want to recommend, his name is Angel Ganev. And similar to the guy that I was talking about last week who does all these critiques, what Angel does is he has people submit their artwork and then ask to critique it. And he does it on the spot and he shows exactly what needs to be done to improve it. And all of it's digital, but it's really, really insightful.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
Angel Ganev.
Dad, we used to have something like that called Beatdown City. And it was on Facebook. It was a group. And we all used to throw our stuff in there and then, you know, rip each other apart. Yeah. But it was amazing. We learned a lot, you know, so don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Man, you know what I just made me think of?
What?
I want to have Penshoff come on and talk about Tattoo Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I forgot about Tattoo Fight Club.
I wish there was more stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, like the two of a kind event, the Tattoo Fight Club, like all that stuff. Like it was real. It was interactive, you know.
It was fun.
It was.
Nowadays, it's toxic.
It's toxic. Well,
What are you going to compete with somebody else?
Yeah.
tattooing is not a
man.
competition.
Oh, Lord.
Are you shaming them?
No, I just want the dial turned back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
That's funny.
What do you
guys.
Wait, you got a recommendation?
No,
No. All right.
I don't got one.
All right.
I just wanted you guys to give me one.
All right. I
All right.
want
That's
to
cool.
thank our Patreon supporters. This week, I posted on Patreon a little secret, but I'm going to give you a little bit of nugget of that secret. We're moving. The podcast is moving downstairs. We're going to have a permanent setup. And on our Patreon, we're talking about what we're doing. We're getting some critiques from you guys too. So if you want to join in on that conversation, head over to patreon.com/honest tattoo where you can check out what we're doing. And we've got some big plans coming up.
Yeah, by having a permanent place, it'll allow us to create more content for you guys and be able to turn it out quicker. And the goal is to get you guys involved as much as possible, and having a dedicated space to make this podcast will definitely do so. And it definitely helps when you guys support the show through our Patreon. So
Everybody, please support them because I'm very thankful that you guys are doing this. You guys bring up a lot of great conversations and a lot of good talking points that, you know, maybe newer tattooers don't know, older tattooers have forgotten about. Like, it's keeping a lot of things relevant about the industry, and that's amazing.
I appreciate
thanks so
that.
much,
Awesome.
man. Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Awesome.
And as always, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
All
Bye.
right.